Ladies and gentlemen, your mind is like a garden. If you plant seeds of positivity, you reap peace. If you plant seeds of negativity, you reap chaos. The truth is simple. What grows in your mind flows into your life. And today, I want to share with you how transforming your mind can transform your entire life. Awareness of thoughts is the very first step towards transforming your life, because every action you take, every word you speak, and every emotion you feel originates from a single thought in your mind. Most of us live our lives on autopilot, unaware of the thousands of thoughts that cross our minds each day, and yet those very thoughts silently dictate our mood, our choices, and ultimately our destiny. Imagine your mind as a fertile field. If you plant roses, you will see roses bloom. But if you let weeds grow unchecked, they will take over the entire garden. In the same way, if we allow negative, critical, and fearful thoughts to dominate, we will experience frustration, anxiety, and dissatisfaction. But if we choose consciously to nurture thoughts of kindness, gratitude, hope, and positivity, then our life begins to reflect peace, confidence, and joy. Being aware of your thoughts means pausing long enough to observe what is going on inside. It is asking yourself, what am I thinking right now? Is this thought helping me grow or holding me back? Am I feeding myself with empowering beliefs, or am I poisoning my mind with self-doubt and worry? That awareness gives you the power to choose. Without awareness, you are like a driver asleep at the wheel, and you don't know where your life is headed. With awareness, you become the conscious driver of your destiny. You begin to see how small, seemingly insignificant thoughts create ripples that affect your decisions, your relationships, and your future. Many of us try to change the external world without first examining the internal one. We want success, but we think thoughts of failure. We want peace, but we keep feeding our mind with anger and resentment. We want love, but we entertain jealousy and insecurity. This is why awareness of thoughts is so powerful. It shows you the mismatch between what you desire and what you're planting in your mental garden. When you develop this awareness, you no longer let random weeds grow. You take responsibility for the seeds you plant, and with patience and practice, you begin to cultivate the inner garden that produces the fruits you want to experience in life. So, the journey of transformation begins here, with the gentle but powerful discipline of watching your thoughts, questioning them, and consciously choosing the ones that uplift and empower you. Because the truth is, your thoughts are not just passing clouds in your mind, they are the architects of your life. Transform them, and you will transform everything. Shifting from negativity to positivity is not about denying reality or pretending that challenges do not exist. It is about consciously choosing the lens through which you view your life and the world around you. Every day, situations arise that can trigger irritation, frustration, or disappointment. You might wake up late, get stuck in traffic, face criticism at work, or encounter misunderstandings with loved ones. These moments can easily pull you into negativity because the human mind is wired to focus on problems. Yet, when you learn to shift your perspective, when you learn to take the same situation and interpret it through the lens of gratitude and optimism, you begin to transform your inner experience. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" you start asking, "What can I learn from this?" How can this help me grow? That subtle shift changes the energy with which you approach life. Negativity is like a dark cloud that blocks the light of clarity and joy. The more you indulge in it, the heavier and darker life feels. But positivity acts like sunlight. It illuminates your path, lifts your spirit, and gives you the strength to move forward with hope. Consider these two people may face the exact same circumstance, yet one spirals into despair while the other rises with resilience. What makes the difference? It is not the circumstance itself, but the mindset with which it is faced. A negative mind sees obstacles, while a positive mind sees opportunities hidden within them. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools for making this shift. When you train yourself to focus on what is working, what is beautiful, what is already present in your life, you begin to weaken the grip of negativity. A grateful heart cannot hold space for bitterness at the same time. For example, instead of complaining about the traffic, you can feel grateful for having a vehicle or for the extra time to listen to something inspiring. Instead of dwelling on a criticism, you can feel grateful that someone pointed out an area for improvement. Gratitude does not eliminate challenges, but it changes the way you experience them. Another important aspect of shifting from negativity to positivity is the discipline of your words. Your words are extensions of your thoughts, and they have the power to shape the atmosphere around you. Negative speech spreads negative energy, not just to yourself, but to everyone who hears it. When you replace gossip with encouragement, complaints with solutions, and criticism with appreciation, you begin to transform not only your own mindset, but also the energy of the people around you. You become a source of light instead of darkness. It is important to remember that positivity is not naivety. It is not about ignoring pain or refusing to see reality. Rather, it is about acknowledging the pain, acknowledging the reality, but choosing to rise above it. It is choosing to say, yes, this is difficult, but I believe there is still something good here. I believe there is still something to learn, something to grow from, something to be grateful for. This kind of positivity gives you inner strength that negativity can never provide. When you practice this shift consistently, your entire outlook changes. You wake up with hope instead of dread. You deal with people more patiently instead of reacting with anger. You see setbacks as temporary and failures as stepping stones instead of permanent defeats. And most importantly, your mind begins to attract more of what you focus on. A positive mind attracts solutions, opportunities, and peace, while a negative mind attracts confusion, fear, and stress. So the choice is yours every single day. You can feed the fire of negativity, which will only burn you from within, or you can water the seeds of positivity, which will grow into a tree of peace, strength, and fulfillment. By shifting from negativity to positivity, you are not just changing your mood, you are changing the entire direction of your life. Control the mind. Don't be controlled by it. This is perhaps one of the deepest truths we need to grasp if we truly want to live a fulfilling life. The mind is like a wild horse. If it is tamed and guided, it can take you to great destinations. But if left uncontrolled, it can drag you into chaos and destruction. Many people live their entire lives being slaves to their mind rather than being its master. They are pulled by endless desires, tossed around by fears, and chained by anxieties. A restless, undisciplined mind keeps running in 100 directions at once, and the person never experiences peace, no matter how much they achieve or how much they possess. But when the mind is trained and controlled, it becomes your most powerful ally, a faithful servant that carries you steadily toward growth, joy, and purpose. Think about how often the mind plays tricks on us. You may decide you want to focus on a task, but within minutes the mind starts wandering, pulling you toward distractions. You may decide you want to forgive someone, but the mind keeps replaying the hurt, keeping the wound alive. You may want to sleep peacefully at night, but the mind keeps dragging you into worries about tomorrow or regrets about yesterday. If you are not in control, your mind will dictate your emotions, your actions, and eventually your destiny. That is why the scriptures and great thinkers have always emphasized either you control the mind or the mind controls you. Controlling the mind does not mean suppressing it harshly, it means training it gently, but firmly, through discipline and awareness. Just like you train a muscle in the gym, you train the mind by consistent practice. Meditation, mindfulness, prayer, and reflection are powerful tools for this training. When you sit quietly and observe your thoughts without reacting to them, you slowly learn that you are not your thoughts, you are the observer of them. This realization gives you space, a gap between stimulus and response. In that gap lies your freedom to choose. Without this control, you are like a puppet pulled by strings, reacting automatically to every situation. With control, you cut those strings and start responding consciously, guided by wisdom instead of impulse. The uncontrolled mind can be our worst enemy because it amplifies problems, magnifies fears, and creates unnecessary suffering. But the controlled mind becomes our best friend because it calms us in chaos, gives us clarity in confusion, and provides strength in struggle. Imagine facing an insult. An uncontrolled mind reacts immediately with anger, maybe even revenge, leading to more conflict. A controlled mind, however, pauses, breathes, and chooses dignity over reaction, peace over escalation. That difference is life-changing. Training the mind also means teaching it focus. In today's world of endless distractions, the ability to focus has become rare and precious. A mind that cannot focus jumps from one thing to another, never completing, never experiencing depth, always restless. But when you control your mind to stay fixed on what truly matters, whether it is your work, your relationships, or your inner growth, you begin to achieve excellence and peace simultaneously. The mind is also a storyteller. It constantly narrates what is happening in your life. If left unchecked, it tells stories of fear, comparison, and inadequacy. But when you take control, you rewrite the story. You feed your mind with empowering narratives, with affirmations, with higher truths that uplift instead of pull you down. This is not easy because the mind resists discipline, just like a wild horse resists the reins. But with patience, love, and practice, the mind learns to obey. The ultimate secret is to make the mind your servant, not your master. You can use its power for creativity, for resilience, for compassion, and for growth. But to do that, you must stop being a passive passenger and take the seat of the driver. Controlling the mind means deciding what to focus on, what to let go of, what to believe, and what to reject. It is reclaiming your power from the endless chatter of thoughts and redirecting it toward the life you want to build. When you live with a controlled mind, you are no longer easily disturbed by circumstances, no longer enslaved by desires, no longer tormented by fears. You move through life with balance, dignity, and strength. The storms may come, but you remain centered because you know the wild horse is no longer in charge. You are, and that truly is the beginning of real freedom. The power of gratitude is one of the most transformative forces in life, yet it is often the most overlooked. Gratitude is not simply saying thank you when someone does something nice, it is a way of seeing the world, a mindset that shifts your entire perspective. It is the recognition that life, despite its challenges, has already given you so much to be thankful for. When you cultivate gratitude, you train your mind to focus on what is present rather than what is missing, on what is working rather than what is broken, on what is abundant rather than what is scarce. And when your mind shifts in this way, your heart begins to overflow with peace and joy. Gratitude is powerful because it changes the inner dialogue that dominates our thoughts. Most people live with an inner voice that constantly complains about what they don't have, about what others have, about what went wrong yesterday, and about what might go wrong tomorrow. That voice of complaint creates heaviness and blocks happiness. But when you practice gratitude, you silence that voice and awaken a new one that says, look at how much I already have. Look at how far I've come. Look at the blessings that surround me, both big and small. That voice makes life lighter, brighter, and more peaceful. Think about this. No matter how difficult your day is, you can always find something to be grateful for. The fact that you woke up this morning means life gave you another chance. The fact that you can breathe, see, hear, and walk are gifts so profound that we often take them for granted. The presence of family, friends, or even a single person who cares for you is a blessing. The food you eat, the roof over your head, the opportunities you have, all of these are gifts. Gratitude opens your eyes to these everyday miracles that often go unnoticed. Gratitude also has the power to transform relationships. When you appreciate people for who they are and for what they do, you nurture love, trust, and connection. A simple word of genuine appreciation can heal misunderstandings, soften hearts, and strengthen bonds. On the other hand, constant criticism and complaints damage relationships and create distance. By being grateful for the people in your life, their presence, their efforts, even their flaws, you shift the energy of your interactions from tension to harmony. Gratitude is like oil that makes the machinery of relationships run smoothly. Beyond personal peace and relationships, gratitude has a profound effect on your health. Studies show that grateful people sleep better, stress less, and live longer. Why? Because gratitude reduces anxiety by teaching the mind to dwell on what is good rather than what is uncertain. It lowers anger by reminding you of blessings instead of focusing on irritations. It even boosts resilience because in the face of trials, gratitude whispers, even here, even now, there is something to hold on to, something to learn, something to cherish. Practicing gratitude requires intentionality. It doesn't always come naturally, especially in times of pain or loss. But that is when gratitude is most powerful. When you can say, even in this hardship, I am grateful for what remains. You rise above the circumstances, rather than being crushed by them. Gratitude does not deny suffering, it simply refuses to let suffering blind you to everything else that is still good. One of the most beautiful aspects of gratitude is that it multiplies joy. The more grateful you are, the more reasons you find to be grateful. Gratitude opens the door to abundance because it makes you realize that abundance is not about how much you have, but about how much you notice. A wealthy person without gratitude feels poor, but a simple person with gratitude feels rich beyond measure. A gratitude changes the metric of happiness from I will be happy when to I am happy now because so. To live with gratitude is to live with constant awareness of the gifts surrounding you. It is to wake up each day and say, thank you for this breath, this chance, this life. It is to see challenges not just as problems, but as opportunities to grow. It is to look at people and appreciate them for the light they bring into your journey. Gratitude is not just an attitude, it is a spiritual practice that connects you with peace, humility, and love. When you make gratitude a daily habit, your mind stops chasing what you lack and starts rejoicing in what you already possess. And in that state, you realize that true wealth is not measured by possessions, but by appreciation. Gratitude transforms the ordinary into extraordinary, turns little into enough, and turns a house into a home, a stranger into a friend, and a life into a celebration. Focusing on solutions rather than problems is one of the most empowering shifts a person can make, because where attention goes, energy flows, and where energy flows, results begin to manifest. The reality is, life will never be without problems. From the moment we wake up in the morning until the time we close our eyes at night, challenges of different shapes and sizes present themselves. Some are small and temporary, like a delay in plans or a minor misunderstanding, while others are huge and life-altering, like losing a job, facing financial setbacks, or dealing with health struggles. But the way we handle these challenges determines whether we remain stuck in frustration or rise toward growth. When we keep our minds locked on the problem itself, we magnify it, we feed it, and we give it the power to paralyze us. But when we shift our focus toward possible solutions, no matter how small, we begin to take back control of our circumstances and empower ourselves to move forward. When a person only focuses on the problem, the mind becomes restless and heavy. It keeps replaying the difficulty, repeating the why me questions, and exaggerating the size of the issue until it feels unbearable. That cycle of negative focus drains emotional energy, clouds judgment, and stops us from seeing opportunities that might already be around us. Problems are real, but when the mind fixates on them, they appear much bigger than they truly are. It is like staring at a single dark cloud in the sky and forgetting that the vast sky is still blue and filled with light. A solution-focused mindset, on the other hand, looks at that same dark cloud and asks, how can I move beyond it? What can I do to navigate through it? What lesson does this hold for me? This shift doesn't magically erase the problem, but it makes the person stronger than the problem. Consider the greatest inventors, leaders, and visionaries of history. None of them lived in a problem-free world. They faced obstacles, failures, criticism, and endless setbacks. But what made them stand out was their ability to reframe problems into possibilities. Where others only saw obstacles, They train their minds to ask, what can be done? This is why solution focused individuals tend to innovate, inspire, and progress, while problem focused individuals remain stuck in circles of complaint and despair. In our personal lives, too, this principle applies. If there is tension in a relationship, focusing only on the mistakes and faults of the other person magnifies the distance. But if both people begin to focus on solutions, better communication, forgiveness, mutual effort, the same relationship can heal and grow stronger. If someone faces financial difficulty, focusing only on the lack of money leads to stress and fear, but focusing on solutions leads to exploring new skills, new opportunities, or new ways of managing resources. The situation may not change overnight, but the mindset to move forward makes all the difference. Another beautiful truth is that when you train your mind to focus on solutions, your creativity expands. The human mind has an incredible capacity to think, innovate, and design possibilities. But this capacity only awakens when you stop feeding the problem with endless worry. A calm and positive mind begins to see doors where others only see walls. It begins to see lessons hidden in difficulties, strength hidden in pain, and opportunities hidden in failure. Problems then become stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. It is important to note that focusing on solutions does not mean denying the existence of the problem. It means acknowledging the problem, but refusing to be consumed by it. It is about saying, yes, this is the reality, but instead of wasting my energy on complaints, I will direct it toward action. This is not naive optimism. It is practical wisdom. Complaints drain energy, while solutions channel energy into progress. A person who focuses on solutions inspires those around them as well. In families, in workplaces, in friendships, the presence of even one solution-oriented person can lift the mood of the entire group. They bring hope where there is despair, clarity where there is confusion, and direction where there is aimlessness. They remind others that while problems are inevitable, suffering is optional when we choose a higher response. The more you live with this mindset, the more life begins to shift in your favor. Problems will still arise, but you will face them with strength rather than fear, with hope rather than despair, with wisdom rather than panic. And slowly, you begin to realize that many of the problems you once thought were mountains were actually just small stones magnified by your focus. The moment you changed your focus, the mountains shrank and the path became visible again. So, the true transformation is learning to ask better questions. Not why is this happening to me, but what can I do about this? What is the next step forward? What is life trying to teach me here? Those questions lead to solutions, and solutions lead to progress. And when you live this way, you discover that no problem is strong enough to defeat a mind that is determined to rise above it. Detaching from toxic influences is one of the most vital acts of self-preservation and growth, because the environment you surround yourself with silently shapes your mind, your behavior, and ultimately your destiny. Human beings are deeply impressionable. Our minds are like sponges, constantly absorbing from the atmosphere around us. If you stay in an environment filled with negativity, gossip, constant criticism, or destructive habits, then no matter how strong you think you are, slowly that energy seeps into you, affects your thoughts, and pulls you downward. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with uplifting people, positive conversations, and inspiring influences, your mind naturally begins to rise higher. You cannot always control everything in your external world, but you can make deliberate choices about what you allow into your inner world. Toxic influences come in many forms. Sometimes they are people, those who drain your energy by constantly complaining, manipulating, or discouraging you. Sometimes they are habits, such as consuming endless negative news, unhealthy entertainment, or wasting precious time on distractions that leave you feeling empty rather than nourished. Sometimes they are even your own inner patterns, such as repeatedly replaying past mistakes, comparing yourself endlessly to others, or holding on to anger. Whatever the form, toxic influences feed the mind with poison that clouds judgment, disturbs peace, and keeps you chained to mediocrity. Detachment does not mean hatred or arrogance. It means learning to lovingly, but firmly create distance from what pulls you down so that you can protect the sanctity of your inner space. Imagine your mind as a clear lake. If pure water flows in, the lake remains calm and refreshing. But if garbage is constantly thrown into it, the lake becomes polluted and lifeless. The same is true for your thoughts and emotions. What you expose yourself to through company, through media, through daily choices, becomes the input that determines your inner state. If the input is toxic, your output will also reflect toxicity, stress, anxiety, restlessness, and even self-doubt. If the input is uplifting, your output becomes peace, clarity, and joy. That is why detaching from what is toxic is not just about avoiding harm. It is about making space for goodness to enter. This detachment also requires courage, because often the toxic influences are familiar and comfortable. It might be a long-term friendship that no longer aligns with your values, a workplace culture that constantly breeds negativity, or a personal habit that gives short-term pleasure but long-term pain. Walking away or creating distance can feel difficult, even lonely, but it is an act of deep self-respect. By detaching, you are declaring that your peace of mind and growth are more valuable than the comfort of familiarity. And though it may feel challenging at first, with time you discover that letting go of what drains you makes room for what uplifts you. It is also important to realize that detachment is not about judging others as bad or labeling them harshly. Toxicity often arises from pain, insecurity, or ignorance in others. We can have compassion for them, but compassion does not mean allowing ourselves to be harmed repeatedly. Detachment is about setting boundaries without bitterness. It is about saying, I wish you well, but I will no longer allow your negativity to shape my mind. This kind of strength comes from clarity and self-awareness, and it liberates you from unnecessary suffering. When you begin to detach from toxic influences, you will notice a profound shift in your energy. Your mind becomes lighter, your heart becomes calmer, and your focus returns. The time and energy you once wasted on draining situations become available for creativity, learning, and genuine connection. You begin to attract healthier relationships because like energy attracts like energy, you start seeking environments where positivity, encouragement, and wisdom are valued, and slowly you realize that the company you keep is not just a social choice, it is a spiritual responsibility. Detachment also means being mindful of what you consume mentally and emotionally. Just as you would avoid contaminated food that harms your body, you must avoid contaminated information and entertainment that harm your mind. Guarding your attention is a form of self-discipline because whatever enters your awareness has the power to shape your reality. By detaching from unhealthy inputs, you create a mental diet that strengthens rather than weakens you. Ultimately, detaching from toxic influences is about reclaiming control over your inner world. You cannot always remove every negative element from life, but you can decide how much access it has to your heart and mind. The more you practice this, the more you realize that peace is not found in changing everyone around you, but in choosing wisely what you allow around you. Detachment is not isolation, it is purification. It is the conscious act of freeing yourself from what pollutes you so that you can grow in clarity, strength, and joy. And when you live with this wisdom, your life changes drastically. You no longer waste time in endless conflicts or entangle yourself in cycles of negativity. You rise above, not with arrogance, but with grace. You discover that the mind, when shielded from toxicity, becomes fertile ground for wisdom, compassion, and strength. And with such a mind, you can walk through life more peacefully, more purposefully, and more powerfully than ever before. Practicing mindfulness is one of the most profound ways to bring peace and clarity into life, because it teaches you to live fully in the present moment rather than being trapped in the past or lost in the future. Most people spend their lives either replaying what has already happened or worrying about what is yet to come. They carry the weight of yesterday's regrets and the burden of tomorrow's uncertainties, and in the process, they miss the only reality that truly exists, the present moment. Mindfulness is the art of returning to the here and now, of anchoring your awareness in the current breath, the current experience, the current step. And when you practice it consistently, you realize that life is not happening somewhere else, at some other time. It is happening here now. The power of mindfulness lies in its simplicity. It does not require special tools, complex rituals, or external resources. It requires only your attention. When you eat mindfully, you truly taste your food instead of rushing through it distracted. When you walk mindfully, you notice the rhythm of your steps, the touch of the ground beneath your feet, the freshness of the air around you. When you speak mindfully, you choose words with awareness, avoiding unnecessary harm. When you listen mindfully, you give the gift of full presence to another human being, which is one of the rarest gifts in today's distracted world. This practice transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary experiences because it brings depth, richness, and awareness to everything you do. A mind that is not trained in mindfulness is restless, always running in different directions. It constantly jumps from one thought to another, one worry to another, one desire to another, and in that restless movement, it never finds peace. But when you practice mindfulness, you gradually tame this restless mind. You teach it to pause, to breathe, to notice, and to be still. That stillness does not mean the absence of thought, it means the presence of clarity. It means you are no longer being dragged by every passing thought, but instead observing them with calm detachment. Mindfulness also transforms the way you deal with difficulties. When challenges come, an unmindful person reacts impulsively, perhaps with anger, fear, or panic. But a mindful person responds with awareness. Instead of being consumed by the storm of emotions, they step back, breathe, and ask, what is really happening right now? What is the wisest way to respond? This pause, created by mindfulness, is often the difference between regret and wisdom, between conflict and peace. Another powerful aspect of mindfulness is its ability to reduce anxiety and stress. Anxiety is almost always a result of the mind living in the future, imagining scenarios that may never occur. Stress often comes from dwelling on past mistakes or unfinished tasks. But mindfulness draws your attention back to the present moment, reminding you that this moment is manageable, this breath is bearable, this step is possible. By breaking life down into moments, her mindfulness makes even the heaviest burdens feel lighter. Mindfulness also deepens your connection with yourself. In silence, when you observe your breath and thoughts without judgment, you begin to understand your own patterns, your fears, desires, strengths, and weaknesses. This self-awareness is the foundation of true growth. Without mindfulness, you live on autopilot, repeating the same habits without realizing it. With mindfulness, you become conscious, and with consciousness comes the power to change. Relationships, too, benefit immensely from mindfulness. When you are truly present with someone, you listen not just to their words, but to their emotions, their silences, their unspoken needs. Most conflicts in relationships arise not from lack of love, but from lack of mindful attention. People long to be seen, to be heard, to be understood. Mindfulness provides that gift, and in doing so, it nurtures deeper bonds of trust and love. Practicing mindfulness also cultivates gratitude. When you are present, you begin to notice the small blessings you used to overlook: the beauty of a sunrise, the sound of laughter, the kindness of a friend, the comfort of a home. Life, when lived mindfully, reveals itself as a series of miracles, both big and small, and this awareness fills the heart with appreciation. Of course, mindfulness is not always easy. The mind will resist, it will wander, it will rebel, because it has been trained for years to run restlessly. But mindfulness is like bringing back a distracted child, patiently, gently, again and again. Every time your mind wanders, you do not scold it, you simply bring it back. With time, the practice becomes more natural, and the moments of stillness become longer and deeper. Living mindfully does not mean withdrawing from life. It means engaging with life more fully. It means eating with full taste, working with full focus, speaking with full awareness, and loving with full presence. It is about realizing that happiness is not hidden in the distant future or locked in the forgotten past. It is available here, now, in this very breath, in this very step, in this very heartbeat. When mindfulness becomes your way of living, you discover that peace was never something to chase outside. It was always within, waiting to be uncovered. The noise of life may continue around you, but inside, you carry a stillness that no storm can shake. That is the gift of mindfulness. It transforms the ordinary into sacred, the fleeting into eternal, and life itself into a meditation of presence.